know it's No Ideas Original.
Welcome to the No Ideas Original podcast featuring Shannon, Mr. Rob, and Kim. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing?
What's up, bro? What's going on with you?
Ain't nothing. How you been?
Been all right. You know, the dirty South done turned into Connecticut a little bit.
Yeah,
brother.
This is snow, right?
Man, listen, they take snow differently. I know. I was walking through it like it was nothing, but down here, man, snow come. This town shut down when snow come, bro. Things shut down.
National emergency.
No one's on the road, and there's accidents on a regular day, like all day.
Yeah, that traffic down there is horrible.
So when it gets a little bit of ice, man, they slipping and sliding everywhere. But for me, things has been all right, man. Still steady pushing and getting things in order for myself. So doing the best I can say.
Yeah, that's good to know. That's good to know. What did y'all get though? Y'all got like 3 or 4 inches, right?
I think it was 3 inches. It was really coming down consistent. I was like, it might be a little bit more than 3, but then it stopped snowing and it started to sleet.
Oh,
sleet kind of took away some of the snow, but then it got real slushy. So it just made the roads just not drivable, and that was it.
Yeah, sound like a regular day up north.
Like you sound a regular Monday. Go to school, go to work. You shouldn't be late.
Regular
wouldn't do nothing.
Yo, do y'all realize this the 200th episode?
200, bro.
Yeah, we did 200 of these joints. That's crazy. Yeah, time flies. Imagine if we would like some other people. Like there's some other people that do 200 in a year. They just come online every day and just ask for drops. Yo, let me get a Cash App. Send me a Cash App. Send me a Cash App. Just
support me, please.
Throw me some bread.
We got 200 of some quality episodes though. Like none of our episodes, I don't think, are just frivolous episodes. We just gotta say, hey, let's do a show. I think we put some time and some effort and some great content with some great interviews and some great topics to talk about. So shout out to us, man.
Well, that's a fact. So let's roll into the topics we got tonight. Let's talk about Meta. I don't know if you guys heard this, but Mark Zuckerberg last week announced that Meta was going to be changing their position on fact checking and changing the platforms. Meta, which is Instagram. Meta has what's Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, and I think they got Snapchat also. More to follow, sort of like the terms and guidelines of X, you know, like Elon Musk. So gone are going to be the days of the actual fact checking. And now it's going to be a community note as it relates to the post. My question to you all is, what do you think that's about? And do you think that makes sense?
I think Zuck, I call him Zuck, don't give a fuck. I think he's fanning out a little bit because your man Carrot Top is going to be on the spot. And where that energy is going, he wanted to remove all that fact checking because, you know, this is one of the, if I use the word liberal presidents, like he speaks from his heart. He says what he wants to say.
Rob, hold on a second. Yeah, I thought you was going to say one of the most lying presidents.
But he changed in his, I think, because of the constituencies of those who are now going to be in office and in power. He needs to leave those windows open because at one time he had banned Trump and then he reopened Trump's platform for him to have fair playing ground against Biden. Like there was a point where he was against mass deportation and now he's for mass deportation. So what does that say? That means he's going where the wind blows. He doesn't want to fight against I guess a conglomerate such as Trump and get into any war with, you know, the government in that regard. So he's kind of groupie and kind of fanning out a little bit, I think, man.
Yeah. What do you think, Ken?
So, well, for one thing, the timing, you know, is crazy. The fact that you got a guy in there that doesn't tell the truth, and now you don't want fact checked or something.
Right.
I think part of it started. I think they started complaining in the debate about the fact checking before, like during the debates. Remember they were doing that live fact checking or something like that, and but during the debate, the guy would just be like, "No, that's not correct." So, I mean, going out there and creating something with 200 people or whatever, we know how that looks. When you look at a post, half the time you get 200 people just rambling, hating, and all types of extreme and crazy views. So none of that stuff's gonna make any sense anyway. Having somebody going in there putting something like as far like we talking about the guy the ultimate master, alternate facts. So everything like a lot of stuff he already talked about. He already said that he can't do about inflation, rolling back prices and stuff like that. So realistically, who wants that stuff to get out? Get out and get pushed out as much as he can. Plus, too, you got to figure somebody like Zuckerberg. He's seen what happened to what's happening right now to TikTok.
Right, right.
Wrong side of everybody in the government.
Right. Don't want to be on. You don't want to be there.
Yeah.
So my thing with it though is that I just feel like, from a moral standpoint, it's like, how could you say you have opposition to the truth, right? Like if like you're just going, you're basically going wherever politically, whoever has the power. Like, so when Biden was in office, you were pro fact checking. Now Donald Trump is going back in office, and now you like forget the fact checking. The thing about it though is that when we think about like the fact checking stuff, we only think about it being applicable to Donald Trump, which kind of lends to what I was saying before around the fact that Rob was saying, liberal in his words, lying,
yeah, saying what you want to say, pretty much
exaggerating about things. Right. Also, but it goes beyond him. So imagine now if they're talking about removing fact checking, with the internet already being sort of like the wild, wild west, and being like just this open area where people could say anything without any validity. So we're saying that in the name of viewers, that's what it is, viewers, but people will tell you it's the First Amendment. We're going to be lax on what actually is the facts, and we'll allow people to say whatever it is. And I feel like that there'll probably be a filter on that as it relates to who's saying what. Like, I think certain people will have leeway to get whatever information they want to, and then I think that there are other people whose information will continue to be restricted. And
you think so?
I do. I think it depends on what the messaging is, and the rhetoric. And I'm not a big conspiracy theorist type guy, but I could see like a lot of people that have messages that are very con or counter to what the establishment says, that them automatically saying like, nah, that one got to be shut down. There got to be community notes on it or whatever it is. I personally think that the First Amendment is a value and it's good, but I do think that there needs to be discernment, and that there needs to be kind of somebody that steps in and says like, no, this is misinformation. And the reason why I believe that they need to have something like that is because there's so much information now that comes through by way of social media. There are people who rely on social media solely as their news platform. Like, they won't read a newspaper, they won't turn on the news station or whatever, because they feel that all those things are propaganda, but they don't believe that, Joe Schmo from Huckleberry, Tennessee, the stuff that he's putting out is is misinformation. Right. So I don't know about this. And then kind of to speak to what Kenyatta was saying, I think that we live in a society that's rooted in capitalism. And I think that because it's rooted in capitalism, it allows people to lax their morals in relation to, I can make money with this or whatever. So like you said, probably seeing, all right, this is what's happening in TikTok. If we want to stay in business and we want to continue to grow our business, this is the direction that we got to go in. And I don't know if you guys had an opportunity. Did you watch Zuckerberg's announcement? Like, he had a thing, I think, on his page talking about it and saying that they're going to turn back the filters, and that they felt like the filters were way too high in terms of what they were flagging and things like that. There were a lot of people that, I don't know if you guys see it, but I see
they was flagging during the pandemic. Because
there still are a lot of people that get flagged for stuff that they like, that doesn't necessarily warrant flagging. What's up, Ayatollah?
Tola.
That get flagged for stuff, and they'll show you like the post that they put up that got them flagged or whatever it is. But then there are other posts that you look at and you be like, this kind of warrants, like, why wouldn't this be a post that would be flagged? So I think that they kind of pick and choose with it, and I don't know if I'm pro relaxing on the fact checking. What do you guys think?
I mean, I'm not pro fact. I was never. It was weird for me to see fact checking when, during the pandemic, there was so much misinformation and disinformation putting out there about the poke, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And here it is, 4 years later, a lot of these companies got a back check. They got a back step on the things they were saying on how healthy it was,
Mm-hmm.
and that nature. So, you were fact checking us then because the powers that be wanted you to do that, so to push back from the information that they were trying to disseminate, so there wouldn't be no confusion in there. But now here we are, you're opening up the gates again for all this information to come. But also, what's allowed to come through if you eliminate the fact checking is some semblance of what may be true as well. You know what I mean? So that is allowed its way in. But this is a world where people don't like to read, bro, and do their own research. And I'm sure we'll talk about that later on in the session. But these are the things we should implore ourselves to do. Is that when someone says something to face value over the screen, you should do your own research and see if it applies to you, instead of just taking information from talking heads because they seem intelligent. That's like the white coat syndrome when you go to the hospital. You just automatically think because he come in white coat, you know exactly what he talking about.
Meanwhile, he went in the other room and Googled it.
He Googled it and said, take 2 of these and call me in the morning. Before you know it, you're bleeding out your butt. Everything you know is bleeding. You're coughing. All sorts of shit is happening. So,
it's almost like you.
Oh, hold on, can I before you say this? I said, do y'all think that there's somewhere is a moron that evaluates where information is of more value by looking under the thing to see how many likes a person got?
Yeah, I definitely believe there is.
There's somebody.
That's the scary part about the whole thing. What Rob's talking about is you doing your own personal fact checking, and that makes sense. But some of these guys, it's almost like you. It's like a popularity thing. If I got the most likes, the fire emojis under there, I can say something crazy like, "Yeah, that guy must really know what he's talking about."
And you just walk with it, like, "Yo, yeah." That's when the term comes. Well, they said, "Who the fuck is they?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know what I mean. You just following it because they said. You know what I mean? You really, and also what during the pandemic and the fact checking allowed me to go fact check. Since I'm putting something up in there and at the bottom I get this red fact checking. I don't know if this is proper or improper. I went and did my research. A lot of times I come to find they just flagging certain words, keywords you put, in your fields or whatever. It's gonna pick up and automatically disseminate a fact checking red flag or whatever just by the word. Not necessarily that what you're saying needs to be fact checked or is incorrect. Just that the wording that you're using is going to flash that, and by design, because at the time of Biden and Ms. Harris, that's what they wanted these social outlets to do. They wanted to push back public opinion so they can drive their agenda.
I do think there's some value in pushing some of that back, because you got to understand, like, some people's rhetoric and stuff they say can incite riots, cause different problems. And to that end, you don't really want to have that type of stuff happening. Like people getting behind certain people and certain causes and different stuff. You take the training wheels off and you got an angry mob. And we see that right now happening, where we got this. We always have the angry mob mentality. You get a couple of people going or something, and then all of a sudden it gets out of control. So some of the things you say should be somewhat censored. It was in that way where they're filtering out, saying, okay, this doesn't seem like it's something that's going to be good collectively.
Like if it's inflammatory. But so all right, so here's the thing to consider. Like I have an X account that I never use. I just never used it. I probably had like a Twitter account for years and then it switched over, but if you look at both of you have Instagram, you look at Instagram, and I'm sure you see stuff on Instagram now that you're like, yo, what is this? What nonsense is this? Or whatever. Yeah. I can assure you, I don't know if either one of you have a Twitter account. Look at your Twitter account. in comparison to what's on Instagram. Twitter is literally cyberspace, wild, wild west. There's
you can say anything you want on that.
It's like between
open market,
porn, murder. Twitter is essentially the black web, the dark web, or whatever it is. And if that's what if that's what the model is, because it seems like if you think about it, Elon Musk is viewed as being so forward thinking that some of the stuff that he put in place on X, people pushed back and they didn't like, but Meta has adopted some of those policies. Like Elon Musk took the exclusivity out of being verified and sold the blue check. Well, what happened a couple of months later? Instagram was selling verification also for a monthly price or whatever it is. So if we're following the leads of Elon Musk, a guy that's heavy on deregulation of a place that's already not regulated, because if the internet was regulated, then you wouldn't have PDF files driving with Mike's Hard Lemonade 6 hours to meet up with little girls or whatever.
Right. That's
it becomes problematic. It's such an open space where so much could go wrong that there needs to be some level of people actually looking at and saying like, no, this is inflammatory. No, we can't have this on there. Or, no, this is blatant information. And you could tell that people realize, whether we want to accept it or not, and it's a much larger debate, that there is some sort of social responsibility around these things. Because think about like these platforms now and cell phones and stuff like that now have built in things that show the amount of time that a person has actually been on them, and ways to block access and stuff like that, and additional filters that you can actually put on it. So they know that it has some level of detriment to people based on what they're consuming.
Yeah, I think part of it, what throws it off too, is that a lot of these different filters and stuff, then they're not human based. They're programmatic things that people do. So what happens is, the algorithm could be extremely rigid or it could be extremely lax. So you could put something in there that's not inflammatory, but because it has whatever keyword or whatever, it automatically gets wiped away. And that's just a byproduct of, trying to keep it as cost effective as possible. So you could literally say anything. If they had like a combination of 3 words or something, then you're getting knocked off.
Right. Yes, sir.
So that part of it is not good. Yeah.
Yeah, I could tell you, I'm not going to say on here, because if I say it on here, then this will get cut off. But I could tell you what filter is going to stay on and who it's going to stay on for. There's a protected class that people will not say anything about, and that filter will stay on or whatever. Meta, none of them will never change that platform.
They're not changing that platform. Yeah, they're not doing that.
So I'm interested in seeing where it goes and how it impacts the information that we receive. And
Zuck don't want to be at war with Trump, man. He don't want no smoke with Trump. He's like, all right, you're next in line, sir. What you need me to do?
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's crazy you say that, because I wanted to take this a little bit further. And you see, like, all right, so we're talking about Zuckerberg relaxing fact checking, but I don't know if you guys have seen the trend going on nationwide also, with now Walmart, all these other places relaxing the DEI policies also. Like all that stuff is out the window now. They like, well, Trump is in office or whatever. Like all the DEI programs that we had and everything, we're not going to keep going with it. I know Walmart was one. Who's another one that
it's like a new one every day. Walmart, Home Depot, it's tons of them. I mean, I wish we would all get together and say, you know what, we're gonna relax buying stuff from your store. That would change their thought process, but that's always hard to do, to get people together to do that. But yeah, most companies, listen, let me tell you, whether they're saying it out loud, internally they're doing it because they don't want to even say it out loud for the bad publicity around it. So a lot of companies are doing it, regardless whether they're announcing it or not.
Yeah, but isn't that interesting? Like the one man's power and influence come into office, and then all of the stuff that he was saying. Now, so that tells me that the things that people were doing, you never believed in it. You never believed in the value of fact checking and making sure that the true information was out there. You never believed in diversity, equity, and inclusion. These are things that you didn't believe in. These were things that you were doing because whoever was president or whoever it was popular policy at that time. It wasn't never actually a mission a mission for your organization.
Because the general public is easy led in the wrong direction, hard to be led in the right. They're used to being told. So here's another situation. And let's switch the game up, and we just tell them what to think. That's it. Diversity, equity, inclusion. What's that? What is that? We don't want to do that no more.
They took it as far as to start to penalize universities for
I heard about that.
Yeah.
Are they penalizing universities for endowments though also when somebody could go to Princeton because their family built the building?
They're not doing that. I remember Michelle Obama made a comment about that in one of her speeches where she went to Princeton and she was talking about the people at Princeton. She's like, listen, there's a lot of dummies at Princeton.
But their grandfather donated a lot of money and their name is on the building and they But I guess that's not DEI.
Yeah. Well,
you know what you would call that? Pulling yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah.
How about that?
Getting it coming out the mud right there. That's out the mud.
Yeah. What a world we live in.
It's gonna be crazy, man.
Yeah. Did you guys hear that New Jersey has ended the basic reading and writing skills test for teachers? Speaking of the world that we live in, New Jersey has.
They're not the only state either. They're not
basic reading and writing. What are the other states, Rob?
I think Oregon is one of them, and there's another Midwest state that's just like that, where they want to eliminate skill tests. Oh my God, bro!
So,
you know what that tells you?
What is the rationale for? What is the rationale for?
Yeah,
is there not people applying to be a teacher? Like, what is the rationale?
What skill set do you need then? If you don't need to read and be able to read and write, what skill to show up? You know, I mean, what? Like, I don't understand. Like, now in your resume, I'm breathing, and they wish you be a teacher.
They're looking for camp counselors, bro. You don't need to read and write.
Yeah, you're right. Babysitters.
And I'm saying to myself, the generation today and the generation prior, these guys don't read books; they react. So you need a CO, you need a group home counselor. That's all. You don't need no one to read and write. And think about what that takes away from, man. Reading and writing, and it's funny that they said skill because they're both a skill. Yeah. We live in a society where people are sending emojis and acronyms. Reading, you don't need to read, just throw an emoji. That means everything.
So we about to get to the point where at the top of a person's resume it's going to say something like, as a skill, can read and write. We didn't went backwards to the days of slavery then,
bro. Then you're gonna have to check to see if that resume was AI generated to see if they can read and write.
Yeah, listen, man. This is just so. I think it's just indicative of society we're living in, because teaching in this society is all the way different. It's all the way different. Reading and comprehending. Who's doing that? Who is reading at all? Well, you know what I mean? If you're reading your text. But like I said, when these young people are sending text, they're sending abbreviations and acronyms and emojis. There's nothing full out. How was your day today? What did you accomplish? There's doing none of that. So how are you going to have someone as a teacher trying to construct a lesson, an aim to a class of 10, 15, 20 who will never pick up a book?
You better try 25, 30, 35.
They're not doing it. It's just not in the wheelhouse of what they're thinking to pick up and read. So you assign teachers who are pro reading and writing to an audience who's looking at them like, I'm not doing that shit.
I mean, this lends to the problems they keep talking about, but they're not really addressed too. You always hear about the educational gap between the United States and other countries. We start doing stuff like this. Instead of moving forward, we drop the requirement. I mean, most of the time now you figure, like, and you started to see this even before, where people they don't teach kids anymore. They teach the tests. So if they give you like a syllabus of what it looks like, I could just go week by week or day by day. This is what I'm supposed to do here, and just read it all, assign it. Mm-hmm. So all the funding is based on scores and stuff. So if you teach the tests, and you do that or something, you pretty much could go through that. And now think about it, if the teacher doesn't know how to read or write, right? How are they going to check anything? So you have a person that's a teacher, right? That's an English teacher that can't read and write. And now we got that person. And you definitely get, like, we keep talking about STEM. If you can't read and write, I will tell you this, you're not going to be able to do technology, engineering, or mathematics. Science, that's just not going to happen. Because most of that stuff, like you said, is in a book. So,
yeah. So look, in China, they go into school year round, probably 6 days a week. And in the US, we talking about, do we really need the teachers to know how to read and write?
Yeah, exactly.
Yo, because we're a society. We're a society of followers. We love to be sensationalized. So we're visual.
Who we following with that though? I don't know no other nation that think that that's a good idea.
we follow what the status quo says. If someone says, "Yo, this is not right," we follow it. I mean, the pandemic. I said that showed it again, man. We'll take someone's word for it and do no research. Research implies I need the attentiveness to go research and read something to make sure it's correct. That's too much work for the society we live in, bro. They need to be told. I'd rather you tell me I need to take a pill than me go figure out if I need a pill.
T. Martin said, if you have young children, teach them what school today is no longer teaching. Don't throw your books out. Have your children read to you. Maybe they went so far to the extreme, because one of the criticisms or the critiques that I have about school is that school to me needed to make an effort to do more to teach life skill related stuff to people, like stuff that's much more practical, like, you know, financial literacy, stuff that you could use like in your everyday stuff, like
home economics.
And that was, once upon a time, that was a thing. Like, you know, in college, I did algebra, you know, and all kind of trigonometry, all these different things, but I've never applied any of that in the real world, you know. So they need things that are more applicable, but reading and writing is applicable to every day. There hasn't been a day,
but is it
probably in my life since I've actually learned how to read and write that I didn't read or write something.
But how applicable is it in today's world, reading and writing?
Reading and writing?
Just looking at something.
Well, I think it's becoming less needed, because
but literally, don't you, how you call it? Everything with well, I guess you could get around it on a smartphone with talk to text or whatever, those kind of things, and have people read it for you or whatever. But like I said, like from the point that I learned to read and write, I can't think of a day that I didn't read something or write something.
Right.
You know, I can't. Like, can you think of a time where there was this one day where I didn't read anything?
And I won't stop, because I read often. And what reading does, it allows you to comprehend and use your own word and come up with the the context on your own, man. Use your own imagination to figure
imagination. That's it. That's exactly what reading
invokes that. So does writing. Writing invokes imagination as well. So you don't want a society of thinkers. You don't. You want society of followers.
What is the thought process, though? What is their rationale as to why they're dropping this? Are they saying that we don't have enough people interested in becoming teachers? Like, and did they not? Because and if we have teachers that are listening to this, maybe you can explain to me. So I was under the impression that you probably could be a teacher with a bachelor's degree, but then after a while you had to get some sort of certification, or then you had to go for your master's.
You have to depending on what age group and what you're teaching, you have to have the certification in front of it. I think some of the thought process that they're talking about around it is, again, you got less people applying to be teachers. You got bigger classrooms, so it's really to try to break down the classrooms and stuff. They don't have the budgetary thing, and plus two, it's like anything else. Good quality tenured teachers costs a lot more than getting somebody off the street that knows that. So the amount of money we spend on education is probably the lowest. We got to spend more money on police force than we spend on education.
Yo, you know something? Could you imagine? I'm glad my children are young. Could you imagine going to school for parent teachers conference, and you go to talk to you talk to the teacher, and the teacher be like, you be like, yo, so you know what's going on with my kid? You know how they perform on the stat, and the teacher be like, I'm illiterate. I don't know.
She's saying some emojis with a thumbs up emoji, a heart emoji or something. There's your kids doing like this. That's how your kids doing.
It was like Mr. Harris, the son sits in there over there in the corner in front of his iPad. He's just quiet. I don't really know what he's doing, but he's quiet. Yo. He's flipping through the,
So what
it's not causing any problems in the classroom.
So what's going to happen next if we how you call it, if the demand for doctors drops and we need doctors or whatever, and we don't want to pay the fee that's associated with doctors, we're gonna be like, yo, well, now as long as you got a junior high school diploma and you could Google whatever the symptoms are, you in there?
It. You know how to put on a Band-Aid.
They're gonna make an app for that. You're gonna be self-diagnosing at home. They gotta have some apps, and then you're gonna go and you're gonna sign up for the robot. You need a surgery.
But you know something? Isn't there an age limit you gotta be to get into the NBA now?
Yeah, I think you got to be 19 or 20.
I think over 19 or something like that.
Yeah,
there's a criteria to get into the NBA, but you don't need to read or write to be a teacher.
You don't need to read or write to become a teacher. No. Educate today's youth or the future world. So that means take a look at your future now. No one's gonna know how to read or write.
So you know who I think foreshadowed this long time ago? Both Dr. Dre's. Dr. Dre from MTV. Dr. Dre. Yo, because both of them like, yo, what? You going to school? You got what? $500,000 in student loans? I'm Dr. Dre. Yo, that's crazy though. Like, imagine if you were a teacher that you got all these certifications, you went to school all these years, you did all this work and everything, and you making whatever. Teachers already underpaid. Let's just be real about it. And you collect whatever your salary is, and then you sit next to your colleague in a meeting or whatever, and they hand out whatever it is and be like, this is the new memo, and your colleague turn you and be like, yo, could you read this for me? Yeah, I just got in here in a literate program.
I don't know what this means. Can you?
What do you teach? I'm a 7th grade English teacher.
Yo, they didn't even say advanced reading and writing. They said basic reading
and writing skills.
So basically, we could get a kid as long as they pass the New York State reading rate at a 7th grade reading level. You ready to become a teacher? Why continue on? Listen, I'm gonna drop out. I think I could become a teacher now.
That's just bananas to me, bro. Reading.
You know, they're gonna put an age limit on teaching soon.
You know, what's the precursor to this though? No Child Left Behind.
Yeah.
Because No Child Left Behind kind of set the bar where it was like, you know, you could be in 4th grade. You could be in 4th grade reading, you know, at a 1st grade level, and you know what?
Don't worry about it. Just keep pushing them through.
We should have known some stuff was happening when they start getting. First, they got rid of cursive, like nobody's got to write script. Like we complain about communication, but everything we do is to basically make sure people can't communicate.
Just communicate. Thank you. We ain't fact checking this shit. Why not?
Yeah, we can't read, we can't write. And we complain about people communicating. People are sitting 3 feet from each other on the phone, texting emojis or something back and forth. And then everybody wonders why nobody understands each other. And if you get on, it's desensitized. And we keep creating more and more things.
I see a lot of people talk about like like writing cursive and stuff like that. And I don't know. I'm not opposed to them no longer teaching cursive or whatever. I think the only thing that what do you use cursive for other than to sign your name? Are you sitting around writing script or calligraphy or something like that?
There's the time penmanship was on my report card, bro.
I remember that too.
Yeah, I was on that.
Yeah.
And you had and it was based on how you communicate. So you had to write neatly and properly and within the lines, so that when you are expressing yourself on paper, people can understand what you're doing. But how are you gonna disseminate understanding now from one another? Based on me just sitting with you every day, communicating with you, that's what your son told me. He told me, nah, man, that's terrible, bro. And as if we're not even as if we're not already a poorly educated, positioned country now. Where we, like you said, we got China where they're teaching their babies how to cook.
Everybody's being an engineer and a scientist.
12 hours a day, 6 days a week.
And these kids they're not arguing, they're not hemming and hawing, they ain't got no devices in their hands. You
Well,
know,
they have that here too. A lot of people don't know that they have regular school and then they have Chinese school. I know that for a fact that they have their own separate schools to extend the schools we have.
They
there's
have
always an element of learning, bro. Especially when you're a child, you're at your most impressionate years. So those are the times where you invoke lessons in communication, so that when they do get up, they become more well-rounded.
do you think it's good that school though kind of has found a way to integrate technology? Because the stuff that we used to get told back in the days don't bring to school, now they encourage, you know, like back in the days you get caught with a cell phone in school, it was a problem, or whatever it is. Now it's like, well, bring your iPad, bring your laptop, you know, take your phone out and work on this problem, or
I
whatever
think they had to incorporate it now because it's so readily available. I remember back maybe 10 years ago, I was with a young lady. She was taking her daughter to a nice private school up in Tarrytown, and they had this class had iPads and MacBooks already in it. I was like, damn, this is for second graders.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But to learn technology, that's another facet of the world we live in now. I think we've gotten so far beyond it where now that they're using just that. So you're not bringing a composition notebook. You're not bringing a binder to school anymore. You're bringing your iPad because you're not writing nothing.
How far can we say that we always say that each generation gets smarter, right? Can we actually say that? Because I'll give you a perfect example. When I took the SAT, there was no calculators and there was none of the rest of this stuff. So I either had to know how to do the work or I didn't know how to do it.
Or you didn't know.
If you using a calculator, your scores are basically weighted. Because how could you say that you know more than a person that did the same stuff you doing without a calculator? You might be working smarter, not harder, but that doesn't mean that you actually
comprehend what you're doing.
Yeah, comprehend what you're doing. The calculator does.
Right.
And a lot of instances, like we keep saying that generations keep getting brighter and brighter. Is it that they're getting brighter, or is it that we're building more tools to help people do things?
Right, to become lazier and lazier and more followers.
So, I don't think it's presented that way though. I think it's presented as being more efficient.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think they present it as, you know what, this is a way to be more efficient. Like, I don't think they say like, all right, this makes a person lazy. They say like, yo, this is how we make a person more efficient and make them capitalize on, you know, the time, like, which makes sense. Is like, why would you require or use time for something that you could do, a process you could do much easier?
Yeah,
you know. So stuff like that I could get with, but I can't get with the fact of telling somebody that they don't need to read and write.
Could you do your job right now without reading and writing, Shot?
No, I couldn't. Honestly, I couldn't do anything without reading and writing. Nothing.
No.
I'm not even talking about my job. I'm just talking about exist.
In general, yeah.
You know, because how you call it, like, even if you got to be able to read an email, you know, you got to be able to type an email, you know, like just your day to day. I can't think of a day that I haven't incorporated some level of reading and writing. You know, so for them to say that that's no longer a priority, that's troubling to me.
Very troubling. That's very troubling.
You know, but I guess maybe there's something, you know, there's more to it that we'll eventually find out.
My thought is that today's youth are very much more visual learners because of the devices that they have in their hands, and that's what they learn. They learn from social media. That's their news. They learn from their peers and how they text and communicate with one another. That's a whole new form of learning. Even, like I said, I use emojis. You know, my mom uses emojis. You know what I mean? And it seems to be a simple way to get your point across. But it takes something away from you having to say something in-depthly. You can't use an emoji for in-depth conversation that you want to get. You know, you're trying to get your point across about.
Yeah. Well, we laugh and joke at the meme. That have you guys ever seen the meme that is all emojis and it'd be like, translate this? What does this say?
Yeah.
You can look at it and you could translate it. So maybe that's maybe emojis 100 years now. That's what I'd say. 100 years or 200 years now, somebody will come back and be like, oh, this is a hieroglyphics. This is from
hieroglyphics.
Time or whatever. And this is what they were saying here or whatever. And you know, that'd be crazy, right?
Yeah.
That's where we headed, bro. That's it seems like that's where they want us to head to. But
I've always maintained though. I've always maintained it. I feel like that, you know, when you go to Egypt and you see like the hieroglyphics and the pyramids, like, you know, archaeologists came along and added some real wonderful complexity to whatever it was saying when it could have just been graffiti. Because somebody tagging up and they saying over here the sun sets and rises over here, and like, actually, nah, that's just this dude's tag.
Sun god. That's the sun god on this section of the planet.
Man, have you guys been following everything that's going on in California, and as a result of the fires in California, just the different fallout? It's really a sad time to see so many people going through and experiencing that and losing all their belongings. I've been trying to find this video on online that I had seen the other day, and it was just I thought I saved it. It was just a real sad video. It was a young lady that she makes content with her daughter, and she was out in front of her house or whatever, and I guess she must have like something that she does with her daughter, you know, and she was in front of her house and she threw up the peace sign and started crying, and you could look behind her house and see like everything, her house burnt to the ground, her car burnt to the ground and everything, and she was doing a GoFundMe trying to raise $5,000, and it was like up to $18,000. I just think that listening to people politicize something like this is it's hurtful also, because I see like you have like what's the Kardashian one? Is it Khloe Kardashian has commentary on the mayor? You know, people, Donald Trump was coming for Gavin Newsom, and to see people politicize something like this in a time where people are in such a time of need, it's just it really bothers me. And you know what bothers me even more? The insurance companies that have dropped these people that have lost everything.
That's a concerted effort. That there is like, what y'all really doing, bro?
So I could tell you something interesting about that. So it used to be that humans did like a lot of the weather model predicting, where they went out and they a person would take like say 2 weeks or so to predict a 30-day model, right? Mm-hmm. Now they're using AI to do those same predictions within like what's saying 2 hours. Now you would think that those predictions will be used for like the news. No, weather patterns and all that stuff was sold to insurance companies. They want to know more about storms and different things that happen ahead of time, so they can hedge their bet on what they're gonna do. So like most of the time, they're the biggest consumer of data around the weather and phenomena is insurance companies. It's not even weather, but not even weather channels.
That's some inside job shit. What kind of shit is that?
They know what's going to happen, and they basically start going over what they could drop and start getting people off of that.
Yeah, it's like I know Hurricane Katrina is coming. All right, let's pull a plug with no insurance. Come on, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but how does that work? What do people go to put in a claim and they be like, no, we dropped you? Or is it that they see, like you said, like they've used a predictor and they see like, all right, there's the potential that this is coming. We got to drop these people. And I'm certain that you sign and everything in agreeing to your policy. I'm certain there's probably some language in there that says something like they reserve the right to drop you or discontinue your policy at any time.
So the easiest thing to do in that is that they'll pick on people like, God forbid you got any, people don't read the fine print, God forbid you made any late payments or anything like that or something, that alone could constitute being dropped. At any type, at any form during your policy, having late payments or anything being behind could constitute being dropped without any explanation. So they'll pick on the low-hanging fruit first, and then they'll start moving up on it. And some of them, like even the best insurance policies that the people have in California, some of them, the max payout is $3 million. You got a $10 million home, and the max payout is $3 million. Mm-hmm. Most of them, $3 million is the max payout. So these people losing double-digit $1 million homes to get $3 million. And one of the facts they had about it that was interesting too is like, so some of the homes out there, I think you guys probably say, did you see the flame retardant homes that existed or made it through?
Yeah, no, even touch.
I see people out watering their roofs, and Now
here's the crazy thing, right? So let's say you have this flame retardant home before we're saying this whole thing happened. Your home was worth $2 million, right? Now your whole neighborhood has been desecrated. Your grocery stores, everything else.
The value is dropped.
The value dropped, and then now you can't move because your house is still there. There's no other way, and nobody's gonna buy it.
Yeah.
So even if you have those homes, you're in those areas, when the time it's going to take to rebuild this is going to be astronomical.
Yeah. Did you see this? The other part about like the renters market now is through the roof. Like they jack the prices up. That's crazy to me. And then I saw something else where they said that California voted against rent control.
Yeah. Well, you know who's one right now, one of the biggest owners of rentals is a company called BlackRock. So what BlackRock does is they go around neighborhoods and they buy people's homes and they convert them to rentals. Like there are a lot of people that you see building all these different developments where you see these different townhomes, these different luxury apartments, because there's more money in a rental than it is in say a home itself. So you get a rental in there, you sell in a 1-year lease, you go to a 2-year lease, and you can increase the price exponentially. Most people, by the time they leave, they've damaged the place or whatever to a point where they don't get the security deposit back. So now you just keep double dipping on the price, and you keep doing that.
That's literally.
You very rarely see single family homes. I can tell you in New Jersey, the amount of single family homes being built as opposed to these like luxury rentals is phenomenally different. You don't see a lot of single family homes being built at all.
Yeah,
that's happening on my mother's block right now. Companies are buying up these homes and they're renting them out. The rent is sky high just to keep up with the cost of living on these blocks. And you know, my thought is this: well, first, my sincere condolences to the families of those who lost loved ones out there.
Yeah,
there'll be neighborhoods that will never return to what they used to be. But I think there's a larger motive to this, because if these wildfires are natural disasters, this ain't natural disaster, man. California goes through wildfires every year, and the most they may burn is a few acres. And this joint done burn about 4 Manhattans, 3 Bronx, a state, 2 Texas. I mean, we're talking about the thousands of acres of land that are just gone. Now, I'm looking at it from this. America is so far behind in so many different things. And when you look at some of our competitive countries, Japan, China, you know, the Middle East, they have these smart cities or these new cities that are developing, that are taking off, where people are leaving here and going to visit. Technology is such a powerful tool now that you can do anything with it via AI or robot, anything. And what not better place to put such a smart city in Los Angeles, California, not that far from Hollywood. That's my thought. Because now, all right, everything's burned. They're going to rebuild. Now, how long will it take to rebuild is the question. But they're going to rebuild. Who's buying this property? Who's in control of this property? What happens in the aftermath? Because that's not going to just lay out.
No,
like
they can't do that.
Some desolate land turn into a desert. That's not going to happen. Same thing with Maui and Hawaii. That's not going to stay there. It reminds me, we all from the Bronx. If you grew up in the 70s,
burn the Bronx. Yeah,
you know how Bronx was burning, even in Harlem. You know what I mean? They got that insurance money and that white flight. Everyone was going to Westchester, New York,
in Long Island.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So now you shift and you move people out of these communities: Los Angeles, Palisades, Malibu, San Bernardino. These are environments that have probably been on the watch for a minute. And talking about the meteorologists, the state of California, along with the state of Nevada and Oregon, these are mountainous towns. So there's always going to be a jet stream that's going through there. And it's easy to set sail a fire. Like I said, these areas are known to have fires. Never at this magnitude, bro. Never. Yeah. There's never been this magnitude. And it's not that it couldn't have happened, but you have natives that are saying this is absolute arson, because these are environments that could never be burned down. Because of where
didn't last year they had some fires also though? Last year?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did. But not at this
magnitude. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's burning everything. And if you look at to Yala's point, the fire retard houses that are standing up erect as if it never touched. I'm looking at the homes that were decimated. What the hell were they made of? Lego blocks?
Yeah, them joints burnt to a
They
crisp.
was burnt to a paper thin.
Yeah.
So it made it easy, in my opinion, to decimate these homes because you knew the material of these homes, and it would only be a few that would be still standing. I ain't call me conspiracy theory. I've been a lot of conspiracy theories in my brain, right? Because things just don't add up. Just like what we just talked about. Now teachers ain't got to read. They come on, man.
Yo, so if that smart city, Rob, if that smart city find its way there, then there's gonna be some serious money for whoever still got a house standing, because
that's what I'm saying. And that's just in my head because America, as a country, we don't have no environments like that.
No.
We don't have no environments like that. I think Canada's working on an environment like that, but not even Disney is like that, bro. I think about New York City from with the old congestion toll. You're trying to shift people from wanting to come that way so you can develop that area from 60th Street to Battery Park.
Yeah.
FDR to 12th Avenue, West Side Highway. That's going to be a whole environment rebuilt, redone, brought, Billionaires Row, whatever you want to call it. They're gonna make that an attraction. What better place than LA?
Yeah,
that's just my thought, man. I just think
what confuses me about the whole thing is that knowing what they know and seeing how natural disasters and things keep getting progressively worse every year, it doesn't seem like they made any thought process to prepare for anything like this happening. Like, there's all types of things. Like, even if you look at stuff that's going on in New York, you don't hear about it that often, but New York is even talking about, you ever heard that seawall thing?
The seawall?
Yeah, like how they have the levees and stuff in New Orleans.
Because of flooding. Yeah.
Yeah, because of the flooding. Mm-hmm. So somebody has to be thinking about this. Like you said, they've had wildfires never to this magnitude, but where was the preparedness? So the government's got to eat some of this. Like, realistically, I'm looking at, they couldn't even scramble. Like, we know there's planes that dump water and flame retardant and stuff. That stuff should be constantly going, but what's happening is because of the funding and stuff like that, they can't do it.
I'm glad you said that, because the budget for the fire department in LA, they done cut like 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So they don't have the right funding to put the right people out there to fight these things. It's just a terrible time, man. And then there were certain areas where fire departments were rolling up the hydrants, ain't nothing coming out.
Yeah, they didn't work. Yeah, that's insane. Yeah.
I don't care. And people saying, well, fire hydrants are made for 1 or 2 houses, but nothing is coming out. It at least helped if something was coming out.
Yeah, some water was coming out of there.
How do you have hydrants on the block, but if I park in front of it, I get a ticket, but it don't work? That's like one of the damn the joint when you park in the booth, man. If it don't work, somebody put a plastic bag over
the fire hydrant.
Oh, man. So
it's all a racket, man.
Prayers with everybody in California that's going through it right now. And
man, them areas, them towns that never be built the way people
these insurance companies that's doing this, I bet you they took the picture of the CEO off their website.
Yeah. That's the first thing that happened.
Oh man, yo, switching gear to talk about something a little bit lighter. And I thought this would be an interesting topic because this is something that that I often struggle with. And I give people, I guess, an example. So the question is, do we or should we separate an artist's art from who they are as a person? And what I mean by that is that basically, like, do you still listen to R. Kelly music? Do you still watch Bill Cosby films? What's the dude that was the director that how you call it, that
Francis Ford Coppola.
Francis Ford Coppola. Do you still indulge in these people films? Like, can you separate or should you separate the heinous acts that somebody may have been found guilty of from their art and still appreciate their art?
Well, do we No, we don't.
No, we definitely don't.
I think people do. I think I do. Go ahead, Rob. I'll tell you. Go ahead. You tell me and I'll tell you why I think people do.
But should we? I think it's all subjective. I mean, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm not changing. I'm not going through my playlist and removing R. Kelly songs. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And that doesn't mean I agree with whatever his personal life. That goes his personal life or whatever he was doing. He has to pay for it. That's none of my business.
Right, so I should still be able to benefit from his music, Rob.
I have an extensive playlist that I'm sure has maybe a bunch of his music on there. I'm not going through my playlist like, nah, fuck R. Kelly. Nah. I let my shit ride the way it rides. And you know, when you're in the public eye is in a place, you know, it's already a place where people have made up their mind of who you should be versus who you actually are. You know, you get to see these people. You only get to see these people on the television. We don't know who they are when they go home and when they're with their family. But your PR is supposed to paint this picture or critique this story about you that makes it palatable for the public to ingest and take in this persona that you're given. And that's just what it is, a persona. We're not getting, there's very few artists and actresses and musicians who are what they say they are. You know what I mean? Then there are others who portray an image because they know you're just there to watch. When I go through some old school and flipping through the tube, I watch the Cosby Show, bro. I'm not gonna say hold you. I do.
I didn't realize the Cosby Show.
I might even watch Fat Albert. Keeping it real, I might even watch Fat Albert, bro. You know what I mean? And it's not because I'm watching it that I'm thinking this nigga gonna slip a Mickey in a couple of people's drinks.
As long as you ain't getting a coffee cup,
damn, Hux, like, Mr. Hux, why you do that, man? Like, you can't watch Rudy and it just doesn't resonate with me per se. You know what I'm saying? And public opinion can sway. The public can sway the opinion of anyone. You know what I'm saying? And most people will just follow through it. And that's where we get that point to where people say, well, they said, but did you find out if it's true or not? Do you know if it's true? How you know if this man is being blackballed? How you know if he's being maligned and discredited for another reason? We don't know, but we'll take the opinion of the news and whatever talking head is saying, well, the results show, and that's it. You know what I mean? We just follow through with it.
I think the reason why I say that I think that there are people who can use that do, separate it and do their own thing is because exactly what you said, like, it's still in your playlist, it's still in plenty of people playlists. My thing with R. Kelly is I don't, how you call it? If it come on the radio, I don't tell somebody, yo, you should turn that or whatever it is. Right. But do I seek out his music to listen to? No, I don't. And the reason why I don't or whatever is because for me, I even though I can separate him being an entertainer from the heinous things that he was found guilty of doing, I'm certain that that income is generated as a result of me supporting him. So I can't get behind supporting you and putting bread in your pocket, how you call it, around that or whatever. Do I tell people that they shouldn't listen? Like, no, I think if you want to listen to whatever it is that he's doing or whatever, or his music, whatever, the man's a great artist. He made great music. I would never take that from him. I just don't want to be, how you call it, like I don't want to be affiliated with him in that nature that I'm gonna seek out his music. I'm not waiting for his new album to drop. I'm not wishing him no ill will. It's just that for me, it's not for me or whatever, like based on him being found guilty of that stuff or whatever. It would be almost equivalent to saying like, yo, this dude is a sex trafficker, but yo, he one hell of a basketball player. So I got to get his autograph or whatever. Like, there's a component in me that for moral reasons doesn't allow me to, how you call it. And I'm not saying my morality is any higher or different than anybody else. It just doesn't allow me to appreciate it, you know, as much. Like the joint, but I didn't even know the Cosby Show was still on or whatever. Like, you know, I'm not saying that I would be like sitting down like a Karen writing a letter like get Bill off the air immediately kind of thing or whatever, but I'm not necessarily seeking out, you know, to be like, you know, where the Cosby Show at kind of thing or whatever it is.
I don't purposely go looking for the new season. They're syndicated. They're syndicated. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I've had playlists for a very long time. And I know his music is all through my playlist. Or if I keep it random because I subscribe to Spotify or whatever, or the title or Apple Music, and if it comes on because it's in the genre of 90s R&B,
you're gonna let it rock.
I'm gonna just let it play. I'm gonna, you know, because a lot of times I'm not gonna be like, they go R. Kelly, me go run to my speech. Fast forward.
Interesting. You think about it, because if it was so like a lot of people, you would have thought they stripped it off. Like before R. Kelly, you notice you don't hear. Do you hear a lot of Michael Jackson's music being played?
Yo, no, all of that. There's Elvis shit on there. All of the creep.
Yeah, you don't hear almost none of that.
Creep music is still being played. You can play Puffy too. Everybody's on them. Everything is being played.
Think about it this way too. Like, well, what you said about R. Kelly is true. You don't look for it, but R. Kelly is a real hard person to avoid, because if you're really trying to not make money, then you can't listen to Trey Songz. There's a lot, because he penned a bunch of songs.
Like
music,
like by, you know, how you call it, by proxy, you gonna stumble into some R. Kelly or whatever. But you know how you call it, if they was like, yo, Kel's is streaming a live concert from prison or whatever, I'm not gonna, and I like his music. I ain't gonna be like, word, I gotta get that on paper.
I gotta get the new R. Kells
or whatever. Like, nah, I just can't. Bro. You know how you call it, like
my behind it, and that makes sense.
Doesn't allow me to condone like the stuff that he, you know, that how you call it, that he engaged in. That has me like, you know, like. And the crazy thing is, I know a lot of people that don't mess with Mike on the strength of Mike's allegations. That's like, nah, he had them allegations, and Mike was found not guilty. People were like, nah, they ain't messing with him or whatever. So for me, it's just like,
that's like with OJ. People threw OJ in the trash too.
He did it though.
Well, OJ, that's to himself. He did it because he loved it. All types of foolish statements.
Yo, OJ actually didn't. OJ create a book that say I didn't do it, but if I did
it because I loved it.
But that goes to the point of exactly why people are like, nah, I'm not trying to stand behind. Like, I think that you gotta. It comes a point in your life, I think, as an adult, like a man, a woman, or whatever it is, that you got to really think about, like, what is it that you're going to put your name on? What are you stamping? What are you co-signing or whatever? And that's not with judgment and respect to like what other people are doing or how other people feel. It just comes down to where, you know, where you are, like your level of comfort with stuff. So there are people that, how you call it, that they, you know, they the biggest Karl Malone fan in the world, knowing that Karl Malone impregnated like a 12 or 13-year-old girl.
He was on his way to the NBA.
Yeah,
that's so under the rug.
Yo, Virgo Rising said OJ belonged in the trash.
Right in the trash.
Yo, but see, the thing with this though is that's the it's kind of like consistent with like we talking about almost like the canceling of people, right? The canceling the people or whatever. I don't know if he need to be. I'm not saying that, because I think cancel culture is one that is a mob mentality where it's like, nah, nobody need to mess with this person. That to me is cancel culture, where people get behind ostracizing one person and shunning them. Like, nah, we need to get them out. We can't have any involvement, this, that, or whatever. Like your own personal feelings as it relates to a person or whatever. I don't think that's telling other people like they shouldn't indulge. You know, that's almost equivalent to like, you know, how you call it, getting on your soapbox and telling somebody, well, you should never drink because I don't drink, kind of thing or whatever. Like, you can't tell people that.
Yeah. Here we are, bro.
Yeah, that's a valid point. I just read. Yeah, I mean, that's like a like pervasive to what's actually happened in society.
Mm-hmm. She said, we canceling these men for dealing with younger women. Are we canceling our fathers and grandfathers too? Back in the days, dating younger women wasn't frowned upon.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, R. Kelly's what's R. Kelly's exact charges?
I think it's like kidnapping or something like that, or endangerment or something like that.
Sex
I
trafficking.
don't think it was trafficking.
I
Was
think
it
his
trafficking?
went a little bit more deeper than, I don't know if he was dating. He was, how you call it, engaged in pornography and
Yeah, nobody knows exactly what his charges were. They just know he was guilty.
we just knew they were heinous.
Yeah, we gonna bring him in.
We just knew they were heinous, So yeah, I think that's always a tough one. And I think it really depends on, your how you feel about the artist. Cause I'm sure, if it's your favorite artist in the world, then maybe you'd be reluctant to say like, all right, I'm not listening to
You might be able to look past those 1,000 bottles of baby oil.
Yeah. By the way, also like Puffy joint, I don't be listening to the Puffy tracks either, to be honest with you. I ain't even waiting for the verdict to drop. That was an easy one because it wasn't like his music was great to begin with.
I even want to say it now.
Well, guess
I keep baby oil, but I don't want to tell nobody. That's for that ain't got. I ain't having no Master Rob parties in my crib. So.
You ain't buying it by the boatload from Cops,
right? You ain't having a rob off.
So I'm just trying to keep my skin right, son.
You should have said he invested in Johnson's and Johnson's. That's why he did.
Yeah, Diddy gave
should have been locked
baby oil a black eye. That's true.
Yeah, that's true. Those people knew that they were R. Kelly.
They were definitely.
I'm never canceling. Diddy ass put in the trash though.
Virgo Rising. Why Diddy could go in the trash? Also though, why? Because of the Cassie stuff, or just what? I have some baby oil. Everybody with the baby oil,
Yeah.
I do.
I got 1,000 bottles.
Yo, and then lastly, we was talking about this before we came.
I have baby oil before all this crap. I kept.
You just go buy it now, Rob.
You know what I'm saying? I keep cocoa butter. I keep a couple of things, man.
By the caseload though?
No, it's just a single price. You gotta open up. Niggas go. Nah, not by the boatload.
Diddy has to go because he's abusive and drugging people, taking advantage of them. Well, one thing we know on video for sure, we saw on video that he's abusive. The drugging people and taking advantage of him. I think that we'll find out when he goes to trial. So we'll see about that. But this how you call it? This Cam and Jim Jones joint, like it really breaks my heart because I'm looking at this and it makes me think about like back in the days when there was people struggle to have relationships with how you call it, with two different people, right? Like, so you ever see when it's a person that's like, if I'm this person's friend, I can't be that person's friend.
Yeah.
Also, and that's what I kind of see playing out. Like I see, I was happy to see Cam and Mace come back together and be successful and have all these, these wonderful shows. And they just how you call it, they look really happy together. But I don't understand how Jim I don't know if Jim got left out in the cold. Well, clearly there was turmoil with Jim Jones and Cam before Cam and Mace reunification, but I feel like this heightened it. And I'm just, it's disheartening because I would like to see all three of them together making money and doing shows and having a good time. I feel like that this relationship in the past, Cam and Jim have had words and they've reconvened, got back together. It kind of feels like this time it's went a lot further.
Yeah,
I think it was the interview that Cam did with 50, and 50 brought up the fact, he's calculated, and even Jadakiss mentioned how, from a music standpoint and just from a money standpoint, a business standpoint, 50 knows that people like the rap beef stuff, so he played a move. He played a move, and he felt, he poured a little salt in the wound and reached out to Jim and had Jim come, I guess, to a G Unit show or something.
The big man Bills got on the stage. Yeah.
And the fact that he brought that up, And Cam and they was going back and forth about it. It made Jim feel like niggas is talking about me like I did some faggot shit or whatever. You see, but we've seen Jim in a number of interviews become very. I hate to use the word emotional, but he gets uptight when he hears certain things, especially when he talk about his name. So I don't think he took too kindly about them speaking about him with him not being there and then have jokes about it. So, but then Cam, like I said, Cam, he's like, all right, let me hold on. Let me get some water.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what really happened. And then he goes in and lays it all out. I think that just kind of drew the line in the sand because there's always been some sort of contention there. And now that he has his man back, you know what I mean? With Mace there, that kind of just like, there might be a power move with that. Next thing you know, not only do we have these guys having their own show, we might have some music coming along with that. And you know what that's gonna do? That's gonna target Jim. And then he throw Jim under the bus. It's like everyone that put hands on you, you end up being friends with. That made him look like, oh man, like I have people looking at Jim different in the streets, and you're not from Harlem, you're from the Bronx. And I thought about that too, like.
Well, yeah,
he never shouts the Bronx. He's like, I'm from the Bronx, but
Harlem
everything.
Well, you figure, like Cam said, if you're from Harlem, why every other word? How you ever seen a person from Harlem have to say they from Harlem so much?
Yeah, he shouts Harlem as if he was born and raised in Harlem, man. So, I get it. Back in those days, people were fascinated with the events and the things that were happening in Harlem because Harlem was the epicenter of it. Showed who we are collectively. We was able to get together and have great times with stuff like Grant's Tomb and Harlem Week and 55th. You wasn't getting that in other boroughs. Maybe in Brooklyn. Brooklyn's another borough that culture brings people together. But if you're coming from the Bronx, you didn't have to travel to Brooklyn unless you made a concerted effort to. You travel right across 145th Street Bridge, and you're right in Harlem, and you're right in the epicenter. I remember there was block parties all up and down Harlem, bro. Like every block had there was a party going on. So he's not from Harlem, and then making a concerted effort just to point that out. Why you screaming Harlem, and you from the Bronx?
I don't want to see Jim Jones' contribution be diminished, though. Like Jim Jones. Was definitely he was definitely not the rapper that Cam and Mace were, but to say that he wasn't pivotal in the Dipset movement, and his contribution to what they were doing, I think is you can't take that away from him. I just wish that when people of the level of closeness that they have these difficulties, that they actually would figure out a way to do it in front of the public eye. Like, I don't like to see dudes that were once as close as brothers fight in public on the internet for content for people. I mean, look at we talking about them now. We're talking about them in the context of the argument or the fallout that they having. But these were two people that they were thick as thieves. Like I was excited to happen for Mason Cam's reunification. So like I said, I would love to see the reunification of Jim getting back in the mix, and it may not need to be on the level of them doing no podcast stuff together, any of that or whatever. But who doesn't want to continue to see Dipset shows? Like, and how you call it? Remember we seen Cam at the casino. Cam was there by himself. Or you see Jim is with other people and everything. So you you could see like that relationship is deteriorating, but to me, they shouldn't allow it to deteriorate to the magnitude that they can't still get money together. Right. No, you ain't got to be best buddies, but what y'all created should be able to last the test of time, that you should be able to get on the road together and figure out a way to make money. See, so back in the days when you used to have like the dust ups and the new editions and the stuff like that, we would read about it in the back of the Word Up magazine or the Fresh magazine or whatever it is, or later on, Wendy Williams would get on the radio and talk about it. But now it just plays out in front of us. So it makes it even more difficult, I think, to restore those relationships, because your ego and the embarrassment that's associated with it, it's like, oh, this dude was online saying that, True Life and all these people put hands on you. How you gonna go back to working with him? or this dude, this, that, or whatever. Like it's played out in front of the public eye, and that makes it far more difficult for reconciliation than in the past. Like in the past,
the public opinion, son.
Yeah, you know,
opinion is tough.
It's tough because I think you know what it is. Like you said, that him and Cam and Mace reconcile. It's okay to have more than one friend, and sometimes like your life is going in different directions. Different people mature at different rates. Like sometimes you just don't want to be outside out there like that no more. And I guess the same people you on the block with don't understand why you don't want to be on the block with them.
Well, you know what I hear is as kind of sort of like a theme, and listening to like how these groups and stuff play out. Because I had told you before, I don't know if you ever got a chance to listen to like the CL Smooth on Drink Champs interview. It's a very good interview.
I watched some of it.
Very, very good interview. And I get a sense of some of that may have factored into like found its way, like even also in a Cam and Jim's relationship. And what I mean by that is that when you have people that are instrumental in the group, right? And somebody says, well, you know, if I'm Jimmy and I go to a promoter, I'm like, I want you to book me for a show. And they like, well, I love your music, but you know, I want to book the Dipset, get Cam involved, get Joel and that. And Joel's says, all right, I'm there. And you go to Cam, and Cam is like, man, I'm off that. I don't want to rap. I want to do this and do that or whatever. I could see from Jimmy's perspective of like how this dude is hindering my money or whatever it is, because the reality of it is that Cam probably could go out and get more shows than Jim
by himself.
Then Jim could go out and get whatever. Not to say that Jim does it, because Jim to me is one of the few artists that in hip hop, his trajectory of becoming a better rapper, his stock over the years, he's gotten better.
Yes, sir.
Better as a rapper. I won't take that. Jim's last couple of projects have been like phenomenal, really good records. They may not have been like hit records, but he's gotten to be a
steady body of work in the last couple years. Yes, sir.
If people are booking them now, they're not booking them for the music that they make now. They're booking them. They've sort of transitioned into that lane where you go see Big Daddy Kane, you don't want to see Big Daddy Kane perform his new album. You want to see him perform his classic records. And I think that that's where they're at. So if you view it as this is a guy that's holding up my money because he don't want to go out because he got these other avenues for which he can make money, tension comes as a result of that. You know, tension comes as a result of that. And I could see Jim saying like, well, now you off the music stuff and you making money and doing whatever it is with Mace, the same guy that we clowned for years and went on for years. Now you off making money with him, but you kind of abandoned us and what we were doing in the movement that we had, and which was generating revenue for us, kind of thing. And that would breed a lot of resentment.
It can, but you know, Cam got an answer for that too.
I mean, I'm sure you got an answer for everything.
You got an answer for why Dipset ain't doing what it's doing, and he's taking his career, his personal career, in the direction he feels he needs to take it.
Yeah, but well, even look at this, like, right, how you call it, like if Destiny Child was talking about they were having a reunion and all the Destiny Child people were getting back together, but Beyonce wasn't there, whatever, would they want to book Destiny Child? No. If Jodeci was getting back together, but Casey and JoJo wasn't signing on for it, are they interested in that?
No.
Right, we had Devontae and what's the other one?
Dalvin. You know how you call it. You've seen it on reality shows. I don't know if you ever seen what SWV had how you call it, reality show, and Lily and Taj was pleading with Coco to do this stuff the same way Escape was pleading with Candy to do this stuff or whatever it is. So there's a pattern here of the person who sort of is like the figurehead, and people need it. They're relying on this person.
They the ones that's backing out.
How you call it? Yeah, and these are the people that they know that you need me for it to go or whatever.
That's why Mike went solo. He's like, all right, brothers, I ain't messing with
no more Virgo Rising. I have my nostalgia black hoodie and it's so dope. Thank you. I appreciate your support. We appreciate you. You know, so you throw that in the mix, you know, because Cam could get money without Mace doing shows, and Mace could go on tour and get money also. And I'm not saying that Jim can't, but can Jim get the same amount of money in the capacity of the Dipset versus by itself? That I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I think Jim has created well enough a lane for himself, not only with music, he's also a fashion icon as well. I think he's a lord and attract enough of those areas between marketing and music and all that comes with it. I think he's attracted enough that he gets endorsements. He can write his own ticket at this point. You know what I'm saying?
Jim, to me, Jim was one of I'll give Jim the MVP of the pandemic. Jim was high call.
Yeah, he worked. Yeah.
That you seen like locked in, putting out projects, selling verses, had a studio, whatever. Like Jim is undeniably
like life. He got glasses.
His business is done.
Jim hustles like he's a hustler.
He got
like
some love and hip hop money. He got a little syndication of his own show. Him and Chrissy.
Yeah.
He maximized his portfolio for what it's worth, and he made the best of it. Shout out to Jim for that, because that was that takes courage coming from a group like Dipset, where Cam is the figurehead that can easily outshadow all the other guys, unless the guys take their own careers into their own hands.
And Jim became a boss in his own right.
It's
fair to me. It's fair. It's there was a period that I will honestly say that Cam was up here, Jim was down here. But as the years
it
went like this, and Jim, after he had balling, Jim was probably more in demand with balling than Cam was. And Cam, as from a music standpoint, probably had a down period, where people weren't checking for. But now with Cam reinvented itself again. And Cam has a couple of different other business ventures that's got him, his stock is on the rise. And I'm sure Jim's stock will be on the rise. It'll go right back up, and how you call it. But I don't like to see brothers fighting in public with each other. I would love to see them reconcile and Dipset to do some kind of tour to get money together. And, even like the how you call it, like at one point, I think they was trying to do a project. I had heard years ago that they was trying to sign to Dr. Dre or something to do a project, something like that. Yeah, like there's definitely they have Dipset could actually go out and continue.
They definitely could.
They definitely did something. And I don't know if you guys ever saw it, but Cam did an interview on his own show where he was talking about, and then maybe this rubbed Jim the wrong way also, saying that Jim kept calling him, trying to convince him to do the verses, and he never wanted to do the verses or whatever. And that he was the one who had that originally was supposed to be for free, and that he drove up the bag to get money for all of them out of it and all the stuff or whatever. So imagine if you Jim and you on the phone constantly calling this dude like, yo, this is an opportunity for us to make some money or whatever. We don't know what these people's financial situation are during the pandemic too, or right after the pandemic. And you leaning on this dude, you got to constantly keep calling him like, yo, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? Because there's no Dipset versus without Cam.
No.
Right. And then they played nothing of Cam. They didn't play a lot of music.
Yeah, he had some statements about that too, where he was like, if it was they played more of his stuff or it was him, that he probably would have fared better on his own or something. Because I think their thing, unfortunately, was one of the more lopsided ones. At least it seemed like that to me.
Yeah. Well, I'm in my commentary on this note though, right? So we just talked about like the whole dynamics between Dipset, Cam, Jim, Mace, or whatever, and then we talked about the verses with the Lox. Never in my life have I ever heard of Lox or saw in public where Kiss, Sheik, or Jada have had any conflict. You know how you call it. We saw it with Mobb Deep, we saw it with EPMD, but I don't think I've ever seen it with MOP. But never have we heard of.
I was gonna say that MOP you never seen it with either.
Yeah. But how you call it, for as many years as the Lox have been going since the mid-90s, never seen that play out in front of the world to see.
No. Yeah, I hope they could get it back together, but for some reason it just feels a little different this time.
It does. It definitely does.
It feels a little bit more personal. Like, some toes were stepped on this time.
Yeah. No, it's that probably a little, hurt. Hurt, pain, men, ego, things like that. So, closing words, Rob.
I don't know what can I tell the world today. I don't know, man. Love yourself, man. And this, for me, I had to relearn a little bit about myself. because I've given so much of myself. And in my solitude, which sometimes is tough because I've been attached to someone for so long, and now I'm not going to use the word alone because I'm not alone, but it gets eerily quiet sometimes where I can get to my own thoughts. But in that moment, learn to be still. It's okay to be still. It's okay to be quiet. It's okay not to be so much on the go or be so anxious to move. Sometimes you need to take a step back and see where you are and evaluate yourself. I think that's my choice message for the day. Self-love. Love who you are. Love how far you've come. Reflect on it and be grateful that you do have a moment in front of you. So
yeah, remember we were talking about that before, and I was saying like the kind of like the reframe of that is taking a step back and kind of saying that you don't have to have or deal with the guilt around self-love, because self-love comes with guilt also when you're in a relationship, right?
Yeah, bro. Because in those situations, someone feels slighted when you give attention to yourself. Is why are you doing that? Almost like, why are you doing that for you? What happened to me? And it's tough when you want the best for yourself, because in a relationship, if you want and you look to do the best for yourself, I think initially it would help the relationship.
Yeah.
You would pour some of what you've learned about yourself into your partner, not even just your partner. Like what I've learned, I'll share it with you guys. This is a relationship as well. So, if I'm better on myself, I would think it would also better my peers around me as well, as long as I'm communicating with you guys and keeping y'all abreast and vice versa. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that's the trick with that, or the struggle with that, is because there's a negative connotation associated with being selfish.
Right. Right. Not a like an enlightened betterment looking at it. Like when you're doing some self-work, you have to be selfish in a way if you need to focus on yourself.
You figure the sum of the parts should increase the whole.
Right.
So, if you could get, I think that requires buy-in from the whole. Like you have to have people that buy into, well, I'm working on myself to get better and improve for the greater good. But most people see it as you working on yourself for yourself. Just right, you the only person gonna reap the benefits from yourself. To use an example, imagine if it's a situation where you was like, you know what, I'm going to school to get a PhD or whatever, and you got a partner that's like, damn, like, so when you gonna have time for me if you're going to get a PhD or whatever? Like those are
you got a case studies, you got to study, you got tests, you got exams. You don't get to enjoy the relationship you want to, you enjoy. So, especially if you're going through a period, if you're healing, if anybody is healing out there, you need time to yourself. I don't give a fuck what it is. If you're going through whatever you're going through, and you need some solitude to figure yourself out, you're gonna need some time to yourself.
Facts.
It might hurt some people, but ultimately you don't want to hurt yourself.
So. Facts. What about you, Kenyatta? Closing words?
Yeah, I was gonna say something about sports, but I'm kind of leaving where Rob's at. Where I was saying, leave that message there, let that one sit out there.
Yeah. Self-love, man. Self-love. Love yourself. Be kind to yourself. I learned that from an old wise little man. His name is Mr. Lou. He said, don't beat yourself up. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself as much as you would be kind to an elderly person when you see them walking. Treat yourself the same way.
Yeah. And I'll just leave it with prayers out to the folks in LA, and everything that in California, everything that that they're enduring. And I pray that that a conscience comes upon these insurance companies, and that they have empathy and sympathy to be able to actually reimburse people for their loss. You know, people think about the loss that what people have lost from a monetary standpoint, but even beyond the monetary loss that people have had, you know, there are people like, that lost probably like family heirlooms and just different things that's like that you can't even put a dollar amount on.
Never be able to replace.
It's like
my cousin we did the calendars with.
Mm-hmm.
He lost a buddy in that, bro.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. So
he used to do insurance out in California before he moved to Texas. So he has a couple of friends out there, and one of them was his buddy. He lost his leg.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you know, like I think that now's the time. Sadly, you know, most of the time in this country, whenever there's a crisis, that's when people rally together and, you know, see beyond the differences that people have. You know, so hopefully people could pull together in the name of California and just be supportive and figure out like how we could get people over the hump, because, you know, you see stories about like celebrities that lost these $1 million homes, but there are other people who aren't celebrities. They're just regular folk that happen to have lost their homes and are displaced. So what I'm saying in long is that, you know, instead of cutting that check to Ukraine, maybe we cut that check to the people in California, you know.
How about
thank you, everybody.
And Cali probably only need a 10th of that money, not even a whole sum.
Peace, everybody. Have a good night.